evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Raising Bulls, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network, Roughneck Scarves, and Icarus FC. We are the only podcast dedicated to the New York Red Bulls 2 of the USL Championship. Tonight, we're going to talk about the first loss of the season. I guess technically this is still continuing the losing streak from the end of last year. We could talk about maybe some reasons why that's happening. Including a little bit of a superstitious one. We'll get to that. We've got some USL news to talk about. Not anything big, but just keeping up with the league. If you guys want to make sure you know what's going on down here in the USL. And of course, we're going to preview the match against the Hartford Athletic this Friday the 13th. Oh boy. Joining me tonight, as most of the time, it's Mr. Joe Steen. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It would have been a nice to open up the season with a win, but unfortunately that was not the case. And looks like they'll try and get back at it on Friday.
Yeah, I got a good amount of egg on my face. I was like, well, if they have a lot of first-team players, I'm sure that they'll be able to get a result. Oof, that was not the case here.
No. There was a lot of miscues going forward, and unfortunately, the going forward, they looked pretty disjointed at times in the first half. They got some chances, but unfortunately, nothing came of them, and they're still looking for their first goal in the year.
Yep, and that's not the worst thing in the world. If you look at this team, and we talked about having such a short preseason heading into the year, considering that, they looked at about where you would expect. I think that there was a lot of disjointed play. Well, actually, let's do this. We'll do positives first, then we'll talk about the negatives. First thing, and I forgot to mention that we have him on the show tonight. It's Wallis Lapsley. He's going to be not Lapsleys. It's not a plural. Don't know what happened there. Wallis Lapsley. He's on the show tonight. Really great young player to talk to, and first performance in net for the Red Bulls too, and he looked great. I thought he had a really great game. He had one moment that was a little bit dicey where he had an extra touch as Guinzetti was charging him down, but he managed to not make too much of a mess of that, and I thought focused up. He had a real nice time coming off the line and sort of judging that. The goal, maybe you can throw a little bit of fault his way. I think it's a tough one because he was in traffic, but overall, a really positive start for him.
Yeah, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head with all the points. I thought he commanded the line well. He knew when to come off, when to stay. I thought his distribution was good, something that I think maybe Evan lacked a little bit. He didn't really mess up with, getting the ball out of the back. For his first game, I thought he did very well. The goal, I don't really think there was just much he can do. I think it was just a great shot from Fernandez. For the most part, though, I thought you mentioned the extra touch. There was a couple times where he took an extra touch where I kind of
hold your breath a minute.
Yeah, holding my breath a little bit on that one. But he made some great saves. He came out. He charged the ball well. And I thought he bailed out the back line quite a few times in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think the back line, they struggled a little bit because the struggle's further up the pitch. But another positive I want to call out on the back line, Joe Fala, his first professional match, I think, as a center back. And considering that he's been a striker his whole life, again, another guy I thought adapted pretty well. I was worried about what he would look like defending with the ball on the ground, and I thought he did a decent job.
Yeah, I thought he did everything pretty well, and then of course the injury to Roy Boateng was unfortunate.
Stop trying to jump into topics for later.
Like you mentioned, he converted from striker, and they kind of played the three at the back with Egbo kind of tucking in and playing a little deeper. So I thought they for the most part he did a good job for someone converting, and really kind of held down his side of the line. Yeah,
and you mentioned Egbo and Samad Bonthong got his first start as a left back. Okay stuff from both guys. They didn't really stand out in either way, which to me is a good thing. I think I didn't look at them and say like, "Oh, you really blew it on this particular play," but they didn't. They also didn't do anything spectacular that made me really call out their contributions. But okay, good from them.
Yeah, I thought he had some good moments, and then he had some moments where, it was kind of they weren't so great. Yeah, and especially diving into a couple challenges, and his distribution was a little bit shaky at times. But again, he's he just joined the team towards the end of preseason, and he's still trying to fit in to the style and everything and adapt. So getting him minutes at Red Bulls 2 will help. And he didn't play the whole game. I think he was subbed off.
Yes,
I think it was around
managing his minutes.
Yeah, so about 55, 60 minutes. So we'll see going forward. I mean, his first game, I'm not really going to harp on his performance too much.
Yeah, that's only his second time playing with the twos. He played once with them in preseason. And like I said, I think you could see that around the pitch, that everybody just looked like they were still coming up to speed. Omir in attack, I think physically he struggled a little bit, and we could talk about that later. But there were moments, especially in the first half, where he found space as well and created danger. He was just lacking that end product.
Yeah, I thought, he definitely had a couple really good chances, and, chances that I think because of his performances with the first team, we expect him to convert. But I thought he did a good job. He found, like you mentioned, he found space. He made those runs when they had those counterattacks, even to draw defenders away, which, forwards don't get a lot of credit for. He opened up a lot of space for his teammates, but again, lacking that end product where I think we kind of expect a little bit better from him.
Yeah. And last but not least of the positives, I think Elney and Omar Sow, they looked really good off the bench. I thought they combined really well. Obviously, they brought a different level of physicality to the match, which I think was desperately needed. Mm-hmm. And Elney gets the best chance of the night. A nice header from, I think it was across from Jared. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, they have a decent goalkeeper in Tampa Bay, and Evan Loro, and he's able to stop the shot basically on the line. But I think it speaks to the need to see those kinds of guys together on the pitch more often.
Yeah, I thought you hit the nail on the head. I thought they brought a physicality into the game. I thought Elney's and both of their hold up play was really good. I thought they were able to get make darting runs into the box, try and impact the game with the ball at their feet. Again, you mentioned Elney's header, which is a really good save by Loro. And again, it was a really good cross from Jared, who I liked how Jared also, one thing I wanted to point out, Jared kind of took the reins in the second half and tried to get on the ball more and try and impact the game. I think in the first half, he kind of, he was in and out of the game a little bit. And I think he said, all right, this was a team that I was on last year. I played really well for this team. And there's big things expected of me, especially if, I want to get into the senior team and make a run in there. So he kind of took over the game. He definitely was one of the ones who created the chances. But again, I really liked the impact of Elney. And so I think just based on the first game, you can see a lot more confidence in Elney this year, I think, as opposed to last year, because he knows he's going to get consistent game time. And I think he knows that they're looking to him. And so as the guys that they're going to need going forward to score goals this year. So I really liked the impact. The impact they brought, I thought, and I thought, they looked more likely to score in the second half towards the end than they did at all in the beginning of the second half.
Yeah, I would say even maybe for any point in the game, there's a couple moments in the first half, but yeah, second half much better. Now on to the negatives. I think Chris Lemma, Ben Mines, and Alex Muil struggled badly in this match, even to just find it, really. I think I mentioned this earlier, Mines physically, just against that back line, it was a big mismatch, and he got lost a lot in terms of, especially when the ball was in the air. He did manage to get his head to a header, but I think it shows the things that I've been critical about Ben in the past are mostly about his decision-making in the final third and how quickly you need to make a decision there. And he still shows that he struggles with that. And then you sort of compound that difficulty with being able to get muscled off the ball or just kind of like boxed out at times. And he really struggled in that way, which you talked about Jared before, kind of left him on an island at times in this match where maybe he would get the ball out wide, but wouldn't have an outlet. I think Samad, a little bit more trouble getting up and down the wing than maybe a more seasoned player, but I think he can work on that. Alex on the outside, I thought just looked completely disinterested, and maybe I don't blame him entirely because it's tough when you're a first team guy and you're dropping down the pecking order. We know they've been looking for a winger for quite a while. Josh Sims comes in, Florian Velo is healthy for the first team, and Alex is on the outside for the first time, maybe ever, really, for the Red Bulls. And so I know that that's got to be a big disappointment for a guy like him. And you could see it in the way he played. We've seen that with Derek Etienne in the past, where he dropped down to the 2 team and maybe struggled a little bit because he knows that he's a step above this level, and that can be tough for a player. But I'm hoping that, like Etienne last season, you saw him, really take it seriously when he did come down to the second team, and it earned him some minutes. But unfortunately, we know how that story ended.
Yeah. I thought Alex really did not have a good game. Both him and Ben, I think they didn't combine well on the counterattacks. I think there was a couple instances in the first half where they had a 4-on-3 or 3-on-2, and it was a wayward pass. There was a couple, there was just a lot of there was a wayward pass. There was a couple, bad touches. There was just a lot of miscue going forward. And it, again, you mentioned they kind of left Jared on an island, and they just didn't look, they didn't look the part for most of the game. I mean, anytime, they had a chance to go forward, and, there was they just didn't have the fluidity that we're so used to seeing this team play with when they go forward, that, when they get a counterattack, usually it ends up in a goal. In this game, whenever they had a counterattack, you were just kind of waiting for something to go wrong. If the first 15 minutes taught you anything in this game, it was that they were going to have plenty of possession, but there was going to be really no end product. Yeah. And that's pretty much what was the story this entire game.
Well, the biggest story for me in this game, and it's a sad story for sure, the injury to Roy Boateng. I think, I believe that it's a muscle tear, if I remember correctly, but considering it looked like it could have been a knee injury, and the severity of players picking up knee injuries on turf could be a big problem. So hopefully he's not going to be out long. It's awful to see him go out again after being out injured for pretty much all of last year. We talked about how he's got to be a sort of a big presence this year and kind of stake his claim to the spot. So definitely a disappointment seeing him go down the way that he did.
Yeah, it was. When I unfortunately wasn't able to make it out to Montclair, but I was watching it from home, and when he kind of went down, I at first I thought, oh man, I really hope it's not a knee injury. But learning after the game that it was a muscle injury, and the fact that the tear isn't good, but it's better than a knee injury because you're out really long term then, and then that's another year that he's going to miss. So hopefully it's not anything too serious, so we can see him back this year. I thought he kind of before he went off, he was kind of he started off shaky, but was kind of getting into the game, and then unfortunately that happened. So. Definitely wish him a speedy recovery.
Yeah, don't quote me on the muscle tear. I'm not 100% positive that's what it was, but I believe it was muscle related, and it was not knee related. I know for a fact it wasn't knee related, but I believe it was muscle related.
I think John said something I'll look for the post game comment.
Yeah, there you go.
I believe he said something.
You mentioned possession. They controlled it 62-38. 11 shots, but only 2 on target, and one of those is from Elney. So that really tells you how much they struggled earlier in the match. Omir was able to get a shot. Jared Stroud, 2 key passes in this match. Definitely down from his, I think it was like about 6 a year ago per match. But Omar Sow, in his short appearance, also created 2 chances. So not bad. Not bad to see that. We talked about how he should be a big player this year, and he certainly looked the part in his short cameo this past weekend, and I hope we get to see more of him coming up against Hartford.
John said it was a quad strain.
Strain. So that's even better, honestly.
Yeah. So the fact that it's not anything too serious, hopefully it's not too serious, and we'll see him back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's talk man of the match. Who you got?
I'm going to give it to Wallis Lapsley. I thought he did a good job in goal, commanded the line well. Really kind of, I think, prevented this game from getting out of hand at points. And I thought he did a great job just overall. And, first professional game. And, you would have thought he'd been a mainstay in the team for a little while.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he was critical at times. We know that the fragility of the 4-2-2 is that when teams break, there's really not a lot of cover if you get caught up the field. And so for a keeper to be able to time when he leaves his line or, when he makes the move to go out at the attacker is critical. And a lot of times when you see really big goalkeepers, real tall guys, that's the place where I think they're lacking most, the anticipation of the movement. And it's tough as a goalkeeper to really time out when you should go out and attack the ball, essentially. And so when players are dribbling in, you have to watch for when they take their touch and move the ball away from the body. It's the same thing as a defender when you're going to make a tackle. You wait for the ball to leave their foot and then you make your move. And you kind of have to, it's a waiting game, almost like chicken, that you're waiting for them to make their move before you make yours. And sometimes that could be a little bit infuriating or difficult to watch if you get beat. But again, it's a critical part of being able to do the job properly. And I thought Wallis's timing was phenomenal. Really, really good stuff. And considering he isn't who we expect to be the number one because Kendall's on the first team, that speaks really well to the depth of the position. And, should there be injury issues with anyone up top where, if it's Ryan or David Jensen, that there's a very capable goalkeeper waiting in the wings to help out on the twos. So, Wallis, congrats. You're our first man of the match and our first guest or player of the year.
Boom.
To tease his interview before we get to that, because we're gonna take a break in a moment. Most unexpected player pick for the bad haircut, I would say. I think of all the players that we've ever had on, he does something that no one else has ever done, and so look out for that in a moment. Okay, let's very quickly run down the matches in the East. I'm not going to talk about the West right now. You guys know this. There's too many teams to talk about everybody. So we're just going to quickly run down. Only 3 teams did not play in the Eastern Conference this past weekend. Birmingham Legion, Hartford Athletic, and Pittsburgh Riverhounds. So nothing on them. We'll start up top. St. Louis, 4-1 over Miami FC. Indy 11, 4-2 over Memphis. Charlotte, 2-1 over Sporting Kansas City 2. That's just weird for me to say. Louisville, 1-0 over North Carolina FC. Charleston, 1-0 over Atlanta United 2. You know what happened with Tampa Bay. Loudoun and Philadelphia Union. So DC and the Union, 0-0 draw. And yeah, that's it. That's all the matches in the East. St. Louis up top because of the goal differential. They won 4-1 over newcomers Miami. Miami FC at the bottom. Red Bulls currently sitting in 14th place. It'll be interesting to see how that changes moving forward. Last but not least, before we go to break, very quickly, the first team of the week is out. And I'll just quickly run down all the players that made it. Brandon Miller, Charlotte Independence, goalkeeper. Defenders, Mauricio Cuevas of LA Galaxy 2, Kyle Nelson, Charleston Battery, Callum Montgomery, San Antonio FC. Midfielders, Todd Wharton, St. Louis FC, Cameron Dunbar, Los Dos, Cristiano Francois, we know him really well, but he's at Reno 1868 now. Russell Cicerone, St. Louis FC. And then the three forwards, two guys I don't think are any surprise, and then one that maybe is a little bit. Tyler Pasher, Indy 11. He had a really fantastic match, 2 goals and an assist. Rufat Dadashov, Phoenix Rising FC. Azerbaijani International, and he scores a hat-trick in his first match with Phoenix. Congrats, Rufat. And then, of course, Solomon Asante, picking up where he left off. New season, still making it happen. 2 assists in that match in Phoenix's win. Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll hear from Wallis Lapsley. Stick around. And we're back. We've got our first new Red Bull 2 player of the year. It's Wallis Lapsley. Wallis, thanks for joining the show.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
I said your name right. I should have confirmed beforehand, but that's right?
No, yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it.
Oh, good. I messed up Chris Lemma's name notoriously, so I always like to make sure. But normally I do that beforehand.
No worries. You got it right.
So you got to make your professional debut this past weekend. Probably not the result necessarily that you were looking for, but how did it feel to be out there?
Yeah, no, just like you said, it would have been better to round that up with 3 points, but still an awesome experience. I mean, it's something that I've been kind of working up to for the last kind of 22 years of my life. So it was pretty surreal. Like, there was a moment during the national anthem, and I was like, "Wow, this is pretty cool to be out here." But then once the game got going, I just kind of got into the game and was just enjoying it and doing my best to help the team in any way that I could.
You had a moment early in the match. You attempted to play the ball a little bit out of the back, and it was maybe the best kind of mistake that a young player can have, because you get a little bit punished for it, but certainly not severely so. Maybe gives you a little pause. But in that moment, were you thinking, "Oh my God, this is a nightmare"?
Yeah, you're talking about when Gonzatti was pressuring me and kind of able to. Yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely a learning experience for sure. And going forward, I'll be able to get the ball off my foot a little bit quicker. But yeah, no, as soon as he deflected it, I was like, all right, I just got to do my best to fix this before it becomes a bigger problem. And then once I got the ball back in my hands, definitely kind of let out a little sigh of relief. And it's like, yeah, it could have been a lot worse. But yeah, no, it ended up working out. And like you said, it's kind of nice to make a mistake and not be punished for it.
Yeah, for sure. And just it almost like it gets the jitters out too in that moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was like, yeah, there's only up from here for sure.
So I don't think a lot of Red Bull fans really knew much about you heading into the team. Walk me through your journey. When did you start playing?
I mean, so I grew up playing soccer, just like kind of little kid 3-on-3 and stuff like that. But I think a big moment for me in my career, my family moved to Mexico when I was 10 years old. We moved to a place called San Cristobal de las Casas in the state of Chiapas, which is all the way down in the south of Mexico. And it was there that I started playing goalkeeper at this club called Pachuca Zuli, which is in just in a park in San Cristobal. So actually, I got there the first day, and I didn't speak really any Spanish, but I had a Osvaldo Sanchez jersey, who's at the time the Mexican national team goalkeeper. So, and I was pretty tall for my age, so I was a bit taller than everybody else. So right from the get-go, they were like, "Yeah, Portero, put me in goal." And then ever since then, I've been playing in goal.
How old? So you said you were about 10 when that happened?
I was about 10 when I started, and then came back and played a bunch of other sports, and then kind of going into high school, I started kind of playing serious club soccer and played basketball as well in high school. But those were kind of my main sports.
How long did you live in Mexico?
We lived there just over a year. So I did my fifth grade year of school there.
Very interesting. I feel like what I was going to ask about, being a tall guy like you are, 90% of people that interact with you probably ask, do you play basketball? But heading down to Mexico, that's probably not going to be a question that anyone's going to ask.
Yeah, no, soccer's definitely number one there. There's actually a decent amount of basketball that got played, but no, soccer was what everybody willing to do first and foremost, for sure.
And you came back and started playing other sports. Was there a particular feeling in those other pursuits where you felt like maybe you had a different calling, or did soccer stick out right away?
No, I mean, I just was always kind of and still am kind of like an active kid and wanted to be outside and playing whatever sport it was. And for a while, it's like whatever sport was in season was my favorite sport. But yeah, no, I really like basketball. That was something that I spent a lot of time playing in high school. But it got to the point kind of my sophomore year that I realized that I could be pretty good at soccer and maybe try to get myself a college education out of it. So it was really then that I kind of started buckling down on it and focusing on it more than other things.
And going into college, did you have an idea at that point that you were going to be pursuing a professional career, or did that kind of just manifest?
No, I mean, I think, yeah, it was something that became kind of like at the end of my junior year going into my senior year, kind of became like a real tangible possibility for me. So it was super exciting. But no, I mean, I think like when I was 15 years old, I couldn't get the ball out of the 18-yard box on my goal kicks, and so then at that moment, see myself playing in college was a far leap, and then to even consider playing professional was like almost impossible in my mind. But I kind of just kept sort of taking things day by day, and then was super fortunate to be around some great coaches in high school, some great coaches in college, and some great teammates who helped me improve, and ultimately put myself in an opportunity to keep playing as a professional. And that was definitely an opportunity that I wasn't going to pass up. So was happy to be able to graduate in December and get my degree, and then just go for it all out in terms of soccer.
That's really interesting that you would have trouble with the goal kicks, because that's such a huge component of being a goalkeeper. What were those moments like when you were struggling there, and who helped you through it?
Yeah, I mean, I first started playing club soccer. I had like the center back would have to come over and take the goal kicks, and I was like, all right, this is kind of embarrassing. I gotta work on this. So literally, I would go, like, me and my dad would go. He's a high school teacher, so we'd go over to the school that he teaches at, and we had a bag of balls, and I would literally just kick and kick and kick and kick and kick and work, and then we'd like go home and like watch videos on YouTube of like professional goalkeepers kicking and stuff like that. And just, I don't know, I had a lot of coaches who were really patient with me and helped me figure out what the best way for me to be successful was. But no, it was a lot of hard work, and it's definitely something that I think could have turned me away from the game early on, but I kind of just sort of stuck with it and didn't worry too much about making mistakes, which I think is it's a good thing for a goalkeeper in general, because unfortunately, like, mistakes are going to happen. You're going to concede goals. You're going to do whatever, things aren't going to go your way, but being able to kind of bounce back and just move on to the next play is something that I think is really important.
That's definitely the worst part of the position, or even playing anywhere on the back line, that the mistakes are highlighted, because normally there's a tangible result of those mistakes, is that you give up a goal or, a penalty, something really bad. And that is absolutely a hard thing, I think, for a lot of players to get over.
Yeah, no, I think it can get a little lonely back there, especially when you let in the soft one or whatever. But you also have an opportunity to make big saves and to keep your team in it, and to be part of great plays and great moments that are kind of turning points in games or seasons. So I kind of relish those, and just think about, even in training, if I'm getting hammered or we're doing crossing and finishing and we're conceding a lot, I just think about these saves that I'm making now, or potential game-winning saves in a match. So not to get too discouraged, but to keep working and keep improving.
And when you were growing up, did you have you grew up with MLS, obviously, because you're kind of a young guy. Were you watching any of that? Did you have any favorite goalkeepers maybe around the world that you were paying attention to?
Yeah, so I can't remember how old I was when the Sounders began, but Casey Keller was started in goal, and him being a guy from the Pacific Northwest, and he ended up going to I think he played at Portland. in college. So he was somebody who I definitely emulated and was a big fan of. And then, like, internationally, I always admired Gianluigi Buffon and the stuff that he did for both Juventus and then for the Italian national team. So those were a couple of main guys. And then this guy, I can't remember his first name, but his nickname was Conejo, which means like rabbit. They called him El Conejo Perez. He was a goalkeeper in Mexico. I think he just retired, but he was, at the time when I lived down there, he played for Cruz Azul. So he was somebody who I watched a lot and was a big fan of.
And speaking specifically about Buffon, it's amazing to watch him play sometimes because he was like a magician that you couldn't get the ball past him. And it was almost infuriating if you were rooting for another team.
Yeah, no, he's unbelievable. I think like the way that he reads the game and understands situations and can put his own players in the right places to even prevent shots and chances for their team from even happening, I think is part of the reason why he's been able to play so long and been able to have all the success that he's had.
That's another one of those underrated qualities, I think, of a goalkeeper is their ability to organize around the back line. Because, so much of soccer is people paying attention to goals and paying attention to assists, but there's so much more that's happening out there. And for a goalkeeper, that's a huge thing that I think is often overlooked.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's difficult to measure. It's kind of one of those intangibles, but I think if a goalkeeper gets it right, then it can have a really positive impact, not only on the team, but I mean, for me, it's always helped me stay engaged in the match and be prepared because you never know. I mean, some days it's just the one opportunity to make a save or the one chance for the other team, and you got to kind of spring into action. So for me, communication's always been a good way to stay engaged in the play as well as help my teammates out.
Now, looking at this season ahead, do you have any personal goals that you're looking to meet? Is it just playing as much as you can? Is there like a specific cap amount that you want to get to?
I mean, I'm not too focused on specific numbers. I mean, any way that I can help Red Bulls 2 or even the first team is what I want to be doing. So if it's playing games for Red Bulls 2 and helping us win and pushing the Eastern Conference and making a run deep into the playoffs for Red Bulls 2, then it's great. If it's helping out of the first team in training, if it's pushing the level there with Kendall, Ryan, and David and helping those guys be prepared for the matches, whatever the club needs me to do is what I'm prepared to do. And then also on a personal note, just keep developing, keep improving. I think one of the reasons I'm super excited to be part of the Red Bull organization is the emphasis they put on developing younger players and not only giving guys opportunities, but helping guys along and kind of pushing their boundaries and helping them improve into career professionals, which is something that I want to be.
And that group that you mentioned, Kendall, Ryan, and David, I mean, those are all seasoned professionals. Has that been a good experience for you to be around those guys? Absolutely. It's been great. I mean,
Just the goalkeeper union group in general, headed off by Preston Burpo with the first team, and then Vadim with the USL group in terms of coaches, has been great. All those guys have been super welcoming and giving me lots of good advice, and it's been great to hear people's different perspective. Kendall, kind of a little bit of a younger guy, his experiences in Portland, and kind of going through the situation where I am now, or starting with the USL team and working his way up to playing in first team matches for the Timbers, and Ryan, who's been around the MLS for so long and has got so much experience, and then David coming from playing in Holland and getting experience with the Danish national team and all that kind of stuff. It's been great to kind of pick those guys' brains and learn as much as I can from them and just kind of emulate them in terms of their habits before and after training and stuff like that, because they've all been doing it for a while, and that's ultimately something that I want to be doing too. So I figured to kind of follow their lead as best I can it's a good thing to do.
Well, I got to say, this has been fantastic, but before I let you go, I have to subject you to the lightning round. Are you ready?
All right, I am.
Popcorn, yes or no?
Yeah.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Marvel or DC?
I guess Marvel.
Super Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog?
Super Mario.
Favorite team to play as in FIFA?
I'll say Arsenal.
And last but not least, this is the new question for this year. The survey I'll be giving all the players. Who has the worst haircut on the New York Red Bulls 2?
Ooh. I don't know. There's some good ones. I mean, Caden Clark has got some good flow going. I don't know. I think mine is actually, I mean, in terms of like, I don't know. I might have to kind of step my hair game up. I've been keeping it simple with the buzz cut for like the last 6 years, but maybe it's time to. I mean, I don't know. Joe Fowler's got some great flow too, a little bit going on. I don't know. There's some good hair, and then I don't know. Lemma has got a little feathery kind of lettuce coming out of the back a little bit too. When he's got it toned up there with the gel. So I don't know. There's some good hair. I'll probably say mine is the worst right now. I got to step it up a little bit for sure.
I got to think that there's yet to be a player that's chosen themselves for one of these questions, and I applaud it. I think that's pretty great.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to be a good teammate. You know what I mean? I don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
You've heard it here first, guys. All of you New York Red Bulls 2 players picking all these other people for these awards. For shame.
Hopefully the other guys don't pick me. They pick themselves too, but we'll see.
Excellent. Well, it's been great talking to you. I'm hoping for lots of success for you for the future, and good luck this Friday.
Many thanks. Thank you.
And when we come back, we're going to preview that match against Hartford, so stick around. And we're back. Wallis Lapsley, everyone, picks himself for worst haircut on the team. You got to admire that.
Sign of a good teammate.
Yeah. I guarantee you, Wallis, that these other guys are definitely going to be throwing other people under the bus. So maybe not. I feel like maybe this is a rough question to ask them. Nobody wants to upset anybody else. These are all newcomers. I feel like Evan and Derek and Tyler in the past probably would have no problem calling people out with terrible haircuts. The names of yesteryear. Let's talk about Hartford Athletic. In their previous match, they didn't play, so we don't have anything. They've got a new coach, Roddy Jody. Did I say that name right? Jody. I hope that I did. I'm really sorry, Roddy, if I did not. He takes over for former Kansas City goalkeeper Jimmy Nielsen. And, a little bit of turmoil around Hartford last year. They were part of a story on The Athletic about having difficulty off the field and finances around players. I don't know the story well enough to talk to it right now. I just remember it coming out. So maybe I've got that entirely wrong. You guys can let us know. Send it to questions@raisingbulls.com. Anyway, let's talk about their setup. They've got a goalkeeper, Michael Novotny, Parfait Mandanda, which that is a great name. To quote Shrek, who doesn't love a parfait? Defenders, Alejandro Lara, Mathea Silva, a guy that we know very well. He's been on the show, Kevin Politz, Alex Davey, Arthur Rogers, Noah Paravicini, Sam Strong, Andrea Diaz. Midfield, Mads Jorgensen, no relation to Matthias Jorgensen. Danny Barrera, Gabriel Torres. I think that... maybe I could be wrong about him. Hold on. I'll get back to him. Nicky Downs, Aiden Macias, Harry Swartz, Tyreek Johnson, and Connor McGlynn. And then up top, Mac Steves. That's 2 E's. Hugh Alexander Dixon. We all know Hugh Dixon. And then, of course, Ever Guzman, Mexican forward, signed with the team. He was previously with San Antonio. He's 31 years old, 24 goals in the league so far. And his first preseason match with his new team, he scores 4 goals on New England Revolution. Or the New England Revolution 2, rather. You got to think like, all right, you got a dangerous striker up top. These guys have a lot to prove after a tough first season. And the Red Bulls 2 are absolutely vulnerable right now.
Yeah, I mean, coming off a loss, you think, they'd be a little bit more motivated coming, staying home and, they're trying to regain some momentum before they head out on the road. But Hartford isn't, they're not a slouch. I mean, even last year, they weren't necessarily a good team, but they gave the Red Bulls some trouble in some of their games. And they have someone familiar to the team. Kevin Politz is there. I thought he did a pretty good job defensively while he was here. So that'll be fun to kind of see him again. And we haven't seen this team play yet, but again, having a dangerous striker seems to cause the Red Bulls two problems in the past, and they're going to have the back line's going to have to be in sync. I think they let Tampa, especially with Tampa, Tampa's dangerous forwards. I think they kind of missed some of their chances in the game last weekend. So we'll see how it goes this week.
Yeah, I think one of the big things is going to be who is available in this lineup. I want to see and Elney start up top. That's my biggest thing. But I also understand the realities of, is Matthias Jorgensen going to be traveling with the first team to Minnesota? He went out to Utah with Tom, but didn't see any time in that match. Do they bring him again? Considering how they've kind of shifted to the 4-2-3-1 towards the end of matches the last couple of weeks. So is he going to be available? Is he going to be someone that's playing around with the twos? And then we know that they struggle in the 4-2-2 at Red Bull 2. They've struggled a little bit with the first team as well. But last year when they trotted out the formation, I think that's when things started to get a little bit dicey, especially after Barlow moved up to the first team. So we'll have to see if they're able to kind of get that together and figure out how to best utilize the system with the players that they have. And then the other thing, and we didn't talk about this, but they've got the losing streak going dating back to last year. There's one through line through all that. And do you know what that is? He's not going to like that I tell you.
What is it?
It's Zach. Zach being at matches. They don't win when he's there.
Oh, boy.
Zach is comms for Red Bull 2. In case you don't know, he helps out with the show tremendously, and we're big fans of him. But by his own admission, he has cursed the team. He has not seen them win in quite a long time. I could say it, and it sounds way worse when I say it like this. He hasn't seen the team win since last year.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, Friday the 13th is, maybe
that's when you buck a curse, right?
Yeah, but maybe they cancel each other out and they win on Friday the 13th.
Oh, there you go. I was saying that like the 13th, that might be good to get the mojo headed in the other direction and turn it around.
Could be.
Yeah. So, John Wolenek, I'm sure that you're listening to this. Make sure if you want to win, you figure out how to get Zach out of the building. You can't let him be there.
Lock him in the bathroom.
Lock him in the bathroom. Yeah. Don't let him out of the team bus or something. What would they do? Oh, like a janitor's closet. Yeah. Like trick him to go in there and then just lock the door. You're good to go.
Have him stand on the garage. Like he's not there, but he's there.
Yeah.
So he could be up with the spectators on top of the parking garage.
For those of you who have not been out to MSU, there are quite a few people that just stand in the parking garage and watch those matches. Not as many as are in the stands, but they're out there. Yeah, I mean, look, we don't know enough about Hartford. This is, deja vu to last week where we didn't know enough about Red Bulls 2. We don't know enough about Hartford to really talk to what we think they're going to do, but I want to get your idea of what kind of roster or what kind of starting 11 you want to see out there. So, goalkeeper.
I guess it depends if Mir is back. I would say Wallis Lapsley after his performance last week.
Yeah, you got to play the hot hand. I think that he did really well. Let's keep Wallis back there. Who's your back line?
I would say keep it the same as last weekend, except when his name escapes me right now. Keep it the same as last weekend. I think Neelis and oh wow, his name really escapes me right now, and I feel
Joe
so
Fala?
bad. Yes,
that would be the tallest back line ever. Joe Fala is 6'7", ladies and gentlemen. The guy is just ridiculously tall. I think 6'7". Maybe I'm thinking of Wallace. They're both really tall guys.
Okay. I'm thinking both of them. Because sorry, not Nealis. Preston Kilwine and Fala, and then I think we'll see Agbo again, and I think we will see Boonthong as well. I would do. I guess it really depends on who's going to be down with the first team. From the first team, I would say Kyle Zayats. We didn't really talk to him about him that much. I would say maybe he'll be in there. He'll be in there again. Chris Lemmo will probably be there again. Jared will be there. I'm going to say Omir is going to be there, but I would do Jared, Omir, and then the front two, I would do So and Elney. Probably won't be that because it depends who comes down, but I would do So and Elney up front.
Talking about Kyle and Chris in the midfield, I think one thing that I want to see from them, they took care of the ball, I think, in possession. They didn't really have a ton of bad giveaways, but I thought that they maybe played a little too safe at times, which it's okay. That's not a bad thing to do in the system, and it can be important to make sure that you're not exposed on the counter. But I want to see them try to find players in wide positions a little bit more, leading them up the field. Just something I want to see over the next couple of weeks.
I agree. I think that I think Tampa just did a good job of their midfield was really tough to break down. I think they just had trouble breaking the lines. I don't think it'll be similar in this game though. I think they'll be able to maybe this game will bring some confidence to them, and they'll hopefully take that hopefully take that throughout the season. I think Tampa was a tough game to start. It was a very tough game for them to start the season, and I'm hoping they're not putting too much on that. Even though it wasn't the greatest game, it was still pretty much a lot of new guys trying to gel together against a really good team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, all right, fair. Let's get a prediction.
I'm going to say 3-1 Red Bulls 2.
Okay. I will say I'm gonna make it a closer match. I'm gonna say it's a 1-0 victory for Red Bulls 2. Well, you know what? 2-1. I think they'll give up a goal. I'm not quite there yet. Okay. I think that just about does it for us this week. Joe, I'll let you take the mic. What do you want to say to the people out there?
There's a lot of Red Bull 2 players in USL right now. 4 ex-Red Bull 2 players in USL right now, killing it. Brandon Allen had a goal. Zach Carroll had a goal this past weekend. Junior Fleming's still killing it in Phoenix, along with
Did you just struggle to remember Phoenix?
No.
Oh, it sounded like you had a long pause. Killing it in. And I was like, "Come on, Joe, that's your team."
It's not my team. I just like the way they play, even though they didn't win USL Cup last year, which is disappointing.
We're gonna meme you as Terrell Owens saying, "That's my team. That's my team."
But a lot of ex-Red Bull 2 players played pretty, are going to be instrumental to the team. I also completely forgot that John Christoph Kofi is a part of Memphis too, and I will have to put that in my ex-Red Bull 2 report.
Yeah,
because I was watching the highlights of that game, and I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, did you say Kofi? I'm like, there's only one Kofi I know, and not Kofi Kingston, the wrestler, but John Christoph Kofi.
I think that's fair.
Who him and Dan Metzger will probably be a pretty solid partnership in that midfield this season. So
Dan the Butcher.
But someone I think tweeted this out already, but Tyler Pasher will be in MLS next season.
Yes, I think that was our friend Brian. It might have been Goose, but I think it was Brian Cook who said that Tyler Pasher will be in MLS next year. I think that's a decent guess.
He is. that first goal he scored was it was really impressive.
That
and
run.
He beat and he beat Tim Howard. So
I mean, Tim Howard
impressive all around.
That's an old man.
It's still Tim Howard.
Do you think?
I mean, I know.
So Sporting Kansas City had Pasher on the books. I wonder if he's still like their player. If someone's going to have to wrestle them from him. Nope, wrestle him from them.
That would be interesting because I mean, yeah, I'd have to look that up, but yeah, they definitely Indy 11 definitely. I mean, they struggled in that first half, but they definitely looked the part. Also, I also forgot that David DeGem is on New Mexico United.
Yeah.
So there's 3 ex-Red Bull Tour players out in New Mexico.
And Najem, and who's the other one?
Mondo Moreno.
Oh, yes, Amado Moreno. Excellent. Okay,
and
guys.
Romeo Parks is out there, too.
Oh, Romeo Parks. All right, guys. That brings us to the end of the show. You want to follow us on Twitter? I am at _Joe Goldstein.
I am at jsteen15.
We both write for the Red Bulls News Network, RB News Network on Twitter. And if you'd like to follow the show, and we hope you do, we are at Raising Bull Cast. That's one bull, Raising Bull Cast. And of course, that's on Twitter. You can follow us at facebook.com/raisingbulls. You can go to raisingbulls.com where we post all of our episodes. You can send us questions for each episode to questions@raisingbulls.com. That's questions@raisingbulls.com. We are holding our breath. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Find us, rate us, review us. It helps. Every tiny bit helps, and we would really appreciate it. Make the algorithms work for us, people. We're on bgn.fm. That's the Beautiful Game Network. They're covering MLS, USL, Premier League, NWSL. Go there, read, listen. Lots of great content for everyone to ingest, and I would highly recommend it. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, the official scarf supplier of MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. And last but not least, are you tired of the same old uniforms and cookie-cutter templates from Nike and Adidas? Looking for a unique, completely custom kit for your youth club, Sunday League squad, adult, or even pro team? Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. Let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com. For myself, for Joe Steen, for Wallis Lapsley, thank you very much and have a great night.